On September 11, 2001, a heartbreaking tragedy took place when U.S. monuments on the northeast coast were targeted by al-Qaeda. In this occurrence, 4 American airlines were hijacked by the terrorist group and crashed into the Pentagon outside of Washington, D.C., and another was crashed in a field in Pennsylvania. Most notable were the 2 planes who crashed into the Twin Towers, also known as the World Trade Center in New York City. This was the incident that contributed most to the amount of people killed on this treacherous day, when the planes were crashed onto the 80th floor of the World Trade Center, instantly killing hundreds of people and trapping others that ceased to escape on time. The intentions of the terrorist group al-Qaeda were to break the hearts of millions of Americans, as well as shake the nationalism of America. The president at the time, George Bush, found it upon his duty to react to this dramatic experience. In the speech written by George Bush following 9/11, he effectively uses rhetorical devices to enhance his message to ensure America's stability following the attack, as well as alleviate the worries from the Americans. In the beginning of his speech, he uses an empowering tone to demonstrate his concern to locate the perpetrators of this malicious act. He starts off his speech by using an afro to grab the audience's attention.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
He emphasizes the word our to create a sense of unity and let everyone know that it was the nation as a whole who were affected, not only the ones whose lives were lost. By describing the vivid image of fires burning and huge structures collapsing, he recreates the tragic hour to fire up the audience. Subsequently, President Bush makes a powerful statement in regards to the strength of our nation and how the attack failed to affect our patriotism.
Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America.
Although buildings can easily be burnt, to plague the nation itself would be much harder. He says this to ensure the nation's stability and speak to the strength of the country. He continues on by using an analogy to compare America to a bright beacon.
America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one will keep that light from shining.
When he says this, he implies how the attention is usually on our country, which is why we were targeted by al-Qaeda. Our freedom poses a threat to countries who don't have the same rights we possess, or those who believe that our diversity and political stance is unacceptable. As Bush informs the nation that the government's emergency response teams and the military were there to aid the people in need by donating blood and feeding those who were affected, he illustrates a feeling of security and support. This is an important part of the speech because he lets the terrorists know that their attempt to frighten our nation have failed. If anything, it made our country even stronger because it shows that we Americans are there for each other in times of distress. The tone then shifts to a rueful voice as the president threatens al-Qaeda, using his credibility of being the 43rd president at the time to take a stand for our cohesive nation. He effectively demonstrates his control over the situation and uses the authorities he has to help him make a more impactful threat.
Search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice.
By the end of the speech, the president adequately uses pathos by shifting to a grieving, sympathetic tone to send his condolences to those who were affected by the attack. He strengthens this statement by quoting the Bible, when he says,
"Will be comforted by a power greater than any of us," spoken through the ages in Psalm 23. "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me."
He does this to give the audience hope as well as comfort, and uses the powerful source of religion to ensure that God is with us and will help us through this hardship and bring us to a place of prosperity. Ultimately, President George Bush's potent use of rhetorical devices helped alleviate the broken hearts felt by America, and his ambitious words were used powerfully to ensure that this was the first step to recovery.